when you're applying nowadays, one of the hardest things you're applying online. Everybody has the perfect resume and everybody can draft this because everybody has AI. That's, again, an example of democratizing intelligence. What you need to do is, how do I show uniquely what I can do? And so, let's just give AI some examples. So if you're using AI, you don't want to provide some general example like, I used AI to improve a process. You want to be able to say, the process started off this way. When I implemented AI, I saw these 3 mistakes, and then I put an evaluation in to make sure that they were corrected. The most important skill you have is the ability to learn how to learn. So you should be using AI, most importantly, to learn how to learn. And there are some great tools that are free. One of them is Notebook LM, one of my favorites. And it allows you the ability to take a lot of different sources. If you see people that really break down concepts you like online, on YouTube very easily, you could literally use that source, and you can go pull from other sources, and then you can go back and have it organize a report for you. And then literally 2/3 of people did quit. I wasn't one of those people.
2/3? So he was
Yes.
right?
Yeah, he was right. He was right. They know the numbers, right? I think they try to do a little better with engineering now to encourage people, but that's the model that we grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did is I was like, okay, I had already been through this, right? I'd already struggled in school. I'd already been through the grit. I knew what it was like to fail, and then I also knew that I could come out on the other side. And I just found a way to get there and do that. And I just had that internal kind of muscle built to know that if I keep kicking down the door, it may not kick down on the first kick, the second kick. It might take 100 kicks, but it's coming down. And that helped me get that. And then that continued on to law school. He tries to convince me, and this is the first time I actually learned how power actually works, and people fall for this stuff anyway. He just sits down and tells me, like, listen, Rob, I can tell you, I can pave the way for you. I know this person, I know that person, and I can make sure that everything works out well for you. And I stopped and paused. I looked at him and said, well, how does that work? I already have the appointment. I was really confused.
Turn this up.
Your professional development is one of the keys to your career success. When you combine your desire to grow with actionable steps, your journey to success becomes an incredible reality.
Hi, I'm Paul Faronbi, aka IncrediPaul, and welcome to IncrediPaul Leadership, where I talk to incredible people, do incredible things, become the most incredible versions of ourselves. First off, if you're only listening to this episode, I want you to know you could also watch it on YouTube. Regardless if you're listening or watching this episode, thank you so much for your support. Today, I have the honor of having Rob Richardson on the show. He is the founder of Disruption Now and Obviously, I cannot talk right now. Rob is the founder of Disruption Now and MidwestCon. He connects builders, innovators, and policymakers to drive economic and social impact. He helps organizations discover, adopt, and implement AI solutions to empower people, not replace them. So that was just a little bit about you, Rob, after I stumbled through it, but we're here now. Tell me how you would introduce yourself.
Hey, Paul, how are you today? Thank you for being on the show. And I want to also reiterate to the listeners, so you could have done anything in the world, but you're here listening to us. And so thank you for that. Rob Richardson, how would I introduce myself? I think I would introduce myself as a person that sees opportunity to help people disrupt what they think is possible, right? So how I got to why my company's called Disruption Now, and we'll talk about everything I do, but I think it's more important for people to understand how I got here, what motivated me. And so I was told all of my right. I struggled in school, and I was told all the things I couldn't do. I wasn't poor, that's not one of those stories, right? And nothing wrong with coming from poverty, right? A lot of people do come from it, and it's amazing that they come out of it, but that's not the only story of particularly African Americans. We have lots of journeys. I was middle class though. And it don't matter. You can be middle class, in between, make a lot of money, make a little money. You'll still experience barriers, and the unique barriers of what it is to be Black in America, right? So I had struggled in school with now what I consider my superpower, ADHD, but I made up my mind that I was going to go to college and achieve all these things that I really wanted to achieve. And so I remember this conversation I had with my 8th grade teacher like it was yesterday. I told her, look, I want to go to college. I want to go to engineering. I want to go do all these things to change the world. And Paul, she looked at me dead serious, like she was giving me the best advice in the world. She said, listen to me, Rob. Everybody's not meant to go to college, right? And you're just setting yourself up for failure. So
She
you're going to
just straight
fail.
up told you that?
Straight up told me that, right? And I'm like, I'm in 8th grade. She's making up my whole future for me, right? And I'm like in tears. Luckily, I got much better advice from my mother, who says words that I stick with to this day. She said, listen, Rob, you never have to be defined by anyone's low or narrow expectations of you. You define yourself for yourself, by yourself. And so with that, I've really, I was able to achieve a lot of things. I was able to got my degree in electrical engineering, became student body president, got a chance to become the youngest chairman of the board of the University of Cincinnati, and I believe still the youngest to ever serve a Research One institution, which means an institution that has over $1 billion budget. Ran for office, ran for treasurer of the state of Ohio, got over 2 million votes. Didn't win. We could talk about that on another time later in the podcast. But I say all that to say, I was able to achieve these things, start my business, Disruption Now, where we help, empower tech entrepreneurs. And we also help people learn how to use AI to transform their workforce. And then we also host, I also am the chief curator of MidwestCon, which is going into its 5th year, which is a conference that focuses on empowering people to learn AI and seeing how we can use AI for social impact. But all those things I wasn't supposed to do, right? According to that teacher and according to many others. And so my goal in life has been, how do I disrupt the common narratives, the things that people hear in their voices, the things that people say that this is what you're supposed to do as a person, as a woman, pick your lane, pick whatever you want to say, and disrupt that. And disrupt what others say is possible, disrupt the constructs that are in front of us. That's really kind of that's the non-corporate PR mission of Disruption Now and Rob Richardson, right? So that's what we're about. And I see this moment of technology as one, specifically for Black and brown people, for people that are working to get out of their situations, to improve their status. This is a time we have to see the opportunity and not walk, but run through the door. And so I really shout that message as loud as I can, not because AI is some type of savior. It's because this is a moment for us to learn how to use a skill that could amplify you, and people are lagging on how to use it right now, but eventually they're going to implement it, and then it's going to be much harder to catch up.
Yeah. It'll be much harder to catch up because it just accelerates as soon as you start using it. So I know there's so many different places we could start. I want to start right here with just using AI, and a lot of people are behind or not using it. What are you seeing the most of as far as why people or maybe companies are hesitant to use AI? What are the stuff you're hearing, or what do you help them overcome?
So what I hear most often that prevents people from really using AI is simply fear, right? And fear comes in many different things: fear of the unknown, fear of not looking smart, fear of just not wanting to try something new. And then there's a resistance for some in their organization because some people just don't want to use technology. Like people are, there was a argument, if you go back, like I'm going to date myself, right? There was real debate about whether the internet was going to provide value. No cap, right? Like a famous economist, I think it was Paul Krugman. He told people like, yeah, because the internet went through a bubble cycle where it fell for a minute. And he said, well, it looks like people looked at the internet and seen that it has no real value. You're hearing people say that about AI, and I want to make a prediction that he was very wrong, and people that are saying that AI provides no real value are going to be even more off than he was. And that's saying a lot, because the next 5 years is going to be more disruptive than the last 50.
Next 5 years can be more disruptive than the last 50. Tell me more. Why you think
I predict it will be.
Yeah.
Well,
tell me more about that. Why do you think more than the last 50? Because that even goes before the internet age.
Yeah, I mean, there is. So we are at the end of the internet and machine age in terms of we're at the culmination of everything that was put together over the years that brought us to this point. And there's a reason why AI has the ability to be where it is now. It's from the internet and social media, is so much data being able to be trained on. It's availability of everybody having a device that people can learn from, and then it's the technology of AI. Why do I say, going back to your question, why will the next 5 years I predict to be more disruptive than the last 50? So the last 50 years really became extremely disruptive. Still, okay, it was disruptive, but it still kind of was at a pace. We went through the Industrial Revolution, then we went to the internet, And then people move from just being online a little bit to having their whole lives integrated online. But that still was over a period of some time of a generation from the industrial age to the internet age. That took some time. Now we are really with AI. AI literally rewires how people think, learn, create. It is a general technology, just like the internet, but even more so. And it democratizes intelligence. And so what does that mean to democratize intelligence? That means there are whole sets of workflows and industries that are not going to be able to be done the same. And that's every single industry. I often hear people are like, oh, well, now you should be an electrician and you should do this and you should be in the trades, all which is good. I'm not disparaging any of those things, but nobody is going to be protected from the internet, from AI and from what it's going to affect in a lot of different ways. We have no idea in terms of the full effect it'll have on jobs, but I do know it will be a disruptor. I 100% know that. So why it's so different is that there's a new skill that's being developed and only very few have it. People that understand and use AI and know how to actually incorporate it into their workflows, understand how to take AI, understand when they get a good input, a bad output. They know how to actually iterate from it. They understand how to do evaluations with it. That's some of the most tangible skills that are going to be very valuable. Hardly anybody knows how to teach for it. Hardly anybody knows how to integrate it into their actual organization on a scalable level. So the amount of disruption that's just from the workforce. Then we could let's talk about how cybersecurity is going to be interrupted as another example. Okay.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Right. So Anthropic announced, this is about 2 months ago, that there was a attack done by likely Chinese actors against enterprises that they didn't disclose who got attacked and what happened. We don't know that. We just know that it happened. And like a cybersecurity attack by a foreign nation is not a big story by itself. Here's what's new. 90% of the work was done by agents. Only 10% was done by humans. So what this means that the ability to launch cyber attacks is going to also be democratized. The ability to create products, intelligence, the ability to process data, to build things is really becoming democratized. And so that's going to change how we work, learn, interact as a society. So, and the pace of how this is building so fast. Like it's been building fast for a while, but not like this. Like now it's like literally every single quarter, things are reset in terms of the capabilities of AI and what you need to learn. So most people don't understand or see what's happening unless you're really in it. And I know I'm in a bubble by just interacting with it, learning it. And when you see the power of it, you understand that a lot of things are going to change very fast.
That's good context just to understand. Like, just the sheer pace of things is very different than it was like 50 years ago from the Industrial Revolution to now.
Even 3 years ago, okay, since generative AI has been introduced to everybody, things move faster than I feel like I'm always behind and I'm in it. Right. Things are like, this is yes.
Okay. So with that, and my audience was primarily Gen Z, and they're digital natives. They are more accustomed to AI, not as resistant to. I mean, with any generation, it's not like everyone. There's various forms that they adapt to it, but I think Gen Z more than any other generation knows AI.
Sure.
So I'm wondering for you, because I know you talk about being able to use AI to empower people instead of replace them. And I know that's something that Gen Z, it's been happening a lot, that a lot of times these entry-level roles are not happening and they're not able to get in because it's replacing them. I guess, what are some things that people coming into the workforce or maybe newer into the workforce can do to leverage AI to stand out?
What's interesting, I feel as if Gen Z has this kind of double-edged sword in front of it when it comes to AI. You said that the positive part of it, they're not intimidated by being on a digital platform. I believe that's 100% true. I think the challenge is that because they've also only lived in a digital world and haven't had to sometimes do as much critical thinking on things that others have had to, it presents another challenge because AI is only as good as the expertise you ground it in. Right. So the ability to know how to give proper context and give it proper and provide proper judgment is a little more difficult if you haven't had the skill set to have to do that like on your own. So it can also it can have the opposite effect of also, I think, degrading your quality of your thinking and critical thinking if you're not careful, right? So I think it's very important to point out. So when it comes to Gen Z, how I think they should understand how to actually use AI in a way that differentiate them. So let me be very specific. When you're applying nowadays, one of the hardest things you're applying online. Everybody has the perfect resume and everybody can draft this because everybody has AI. That's, again, an example of democratizing intelligence. What you need to do is, how do I show uniquely what I can do? And so, like, let's just give AI some examples. So if you're using AI, you don't want to provide some general example like, I used AI to improve a process. You want to be able to say, the process started off this way. When I implemented AI, I saw these 3 mistakes, and then I put an evaluation in to make sure that they were corrected. And then I implemented it and reported that back. And we saw an increase in the ability to convert communication with our clients from only 10% of the time to 50% of the time once we went through this. You want to show them the mistakes you made on the front end and be direct about it. So you have to actually show your work more here because everybody looks like they have the perfect product. Everybody has the answers. You need to show that you can ask the right questions. So what I would do is actually use AI to help me do that. So if I was in the middle of trying to find a search, I would do a concept in AI called meta prompting. Sounds fancy, but it really isn't. Everybody's probably heard of prompting. It's the way you communicate with AI to give it instructions. But meta prompting requires you to basically ask the AI how best to do this, and you'll get a better answer than what you could try to say it should do. Because AI knows us better than we know it, and it knows how to think in a different way than we do. So here's what I would do. If let's just give one example. If you were applying for a job and you're looking to apply for a job, you're looking for a reason to stand, or you're looking for how you can stand out, you would give it some type of prompt like this. You're an expert prompt designer. Please design a prompt to help me make sure that I can stand out and don't look like every single other resume that is out there in the field. But to do that, you need to understand me. So ask me questions step by step until you understand who I am, what I do, and what's my unique impact, right? And you would do that, and then it would come back with that prompt to tell you how it would prompt that, and then you would go through that and figure out better ways to use that to have a better resume. That's a simple example.
Yeah.
But what you want to do is figure out, what do I do that's unique? You still have to go back to things that AI can't tell you. What is it that I do that's unique? How can I stand out in a different way? And how can I show that and display that in different ways? You could use AI to help with any of your workflows. You should be using AI to provide more emails outreach. You should be using AI to help you organize. So there are ways that you can use it, specifically using Claude Code. They have a really neat tool now that's, if you're not technical, called Claude Cowork. And you could literally let it read from your files. If you're a person like me, I'm not great at operations, but I know I need to organize it. So it can literally take your folder and say, these are things you need to organize, and it'll tell you, it'll make you suggestions on how to make it better. And then from that, you can learn how to just do that over and over again. But most importantly, here's the most important skill that Gen Zers, Gen Xers, anybody who is still alive and wants to do things in the world, the most important skill you have is the ability to learn how to learn. So you should be using AI, most importantly, to learn how to learn. And there are some great tools that are free. Well, one of them is Notebook LM, one of my favorites. And it allows you the ability to take a lot of different sources. If you see people that really break down concepts you like online on YouTube very easily, you could literally use that source, and you can go pull from other sources, and then you can go back and have it organize a report for you. Or if you're a audio-visual learner like I am, you can have it do a podcast with you, and you can ask questions to it. The point of this exercise, me telling you this, is if you are willing to sit down and learn, there's nothing you can't do right now. But the trick is this. It's actually harder at first. So anybody that's been an athlete or done something new, you know how hard it is when you first start. When you're integrating AI into how you think, into how you're building, it is building another skill set and muscle, which means it actually is more work at first. It is, right? When you first weights, you get sore. It's harder. You don't build muscle at first. You're just walking around, can barely move. And most people never get past that first week or two of that soreness.
Yeah.
It is the same thing with AI. But if you're willing to put in that work, you will get 30 and 40x return, and you will leapfrog everybody else that is not doing.
No, that's really good. I like the concrete examples you provided of in the job search and the comparison to something real world that we're working out, or even like with losing weight is the same thing. It's hard before it gets easy or it
Yeah.
gets more muscle memory.
Absolutely, because there's been this false narratives put up. You just put it in AI and it's going to change it, and then people get frustrated because that's wrong. That's not true. Like, you can use there are some things that AI does quickly to save you time without much effort. You can write better emails, sure. That's not life changing. It is life changing to have it help you arrange your finances. It is life changing to be able to have it reach out to all your contacts, to know how to help it do your work, help you learn better. Those things take some integration and effort. So you have to sit down and really just take the time to learn how to integrate AI, which is learning how to prompt, right? That's the beginning. Learning the basics of Claude code and these things. And none of these things you have to be able, here's the good news for everyone. You need zero technical skills, right? Zero. You do need the ability to learn how to learn and to sit down and learn by doing. You can't learn simply by listening to us and these examples. You have to go out and actually get your hands on the keyboard and focus on doing it. And just focus on one thing that takes a lot of your time in the day and literally say, work with AI to figure out how you could do that one thing better and then move from there.
Start with one thing. Yeah, it's really easy to get overwhelmed with all the different things that people are doing
Yes.
and saying and distracted. But just start with the one thing. I like that advice a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So I know. Oh, go ahead. I think
no, I don't have anything else. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was like, we kind of just dove right in and you just went along with me. I love that. But I want to take a step back to learn more about, because I know you kind of shared a little bit and you talked about all you do about the disruption and how really it started with the disruption with your 8th grade teacher telling you weren't going to go to college,
Yeah.
and your mom was like, absolutely not. That's not true. We're not going to allow that to happen. But I guess that was a type of disruption, but I know there's probably other things that came up or other people that probably came along that helped you to progress. Because I know you mentioned that you're an engineer, but I know you also got your JD as well,
Yes.
which is there's not a lot of lawyers or engineers, not a lot of engineers or lawyers that you have to do both. So
Right.
I'm wondering, like, through your story, what was was it your mother? What was the key thing that helped you when you were disrupted to keep moving forward?
So my mother, my father too. I'm very blessed to have a strong parent and supportive system. So yes, they have helped me out tremendously, and I think it's also a muscle that you build. It is a muscle that you build, right? So I actually struggled a little bit early on in high school to catch up because I had been taking, learning disability classes, which weren't as high as advanced as I should have been for a long time in my elementary career. So in high school, I was just working to catch up. So I really, it was a struggle for me more than it was for some of the other kids. So I would just work and just grit through, and I would do bad on tests and just figure it out and just keep fighting and getting better. When I got to engineering, I had already built up that muscle for grit. So like failing didn't intimidate me. I just knew it was just failing is just a temporary thing for me to get better. So I never see failure as permanent. It's only permanent if you quit. And I'm not quitting, right? And so when I got to engineering, one of the first things you get to, at least this is how they used to do. So I remember like one of my first physics classes, the teacher would get up and he was Dr. Esposito. That was his name. And his name was like he sounded, very formal, right? He was like, yeah. And then he said, okay, I want you to look to the left and I want you to look to the right. That person is not going to be here when this is over. Most of you won't make it. So they really rooted to essentially crush your confidence and make the test so hard that people would just quit. And the test was hard. And so we came back and we would get these, and we'd all have these scores. Then, everybody would just get discouraged. And then literally 2/3 of the people did quit. I wasn't one of those people.
2/3, so he was
Yes.
right.
Yeah, he was right. He was right. They know the numbers, right? I think they try to do a little better with engineering now to encourage people, but that's the model that we grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did is I was like, okay, I'd already been through this, right? I'd already struggled in school. I'd already been through the grit. I knew what it was like to fail, and then I also knew that I could come out on the other side. And I just found a way to get there and do that. And I just had that internal kind of muscle built to know that if I keep kicking down the door, it may not kick down on the first kick, the second kick. It might take 100 kicks, but it's coming down. And that helped me get that. And then that continued on to law school. Law school, everybody in law school is usually, when they get there, they're the best of their class when they come to college, right? And so they get there and they're intimidated that they don't do well on their first test or things, and they're intimidated by all these other people that are around them. I'm like, that doesn't matter to me. I know that I just need to keep fighting through it. And I've already been through engineering, which was a tough degree. That really internal muscle was built, and yes, it was formed by my parents, but then it was fortified through experience over and over and over again. And you just learn that, life at its core is about struggle and pain, but it's only constant if you stay there. You just accept that that's what it takes to get to do anything, and know that you can build that muscle. You're sore for a while, but you just got to keep building.
You're sore for a while, but you still got to keep building. You just keep dropping gems. I like that. And the fact that you talk about it being a muscle, I think it is a key thing, because I think sometimes there's a tendency to think that grit or resilience is something you just have. It's not something that you develop, and it's through the situation that you're going through. Like, fortunately, you said early on that it was instilled with your mother and your father, but even with that, you still it's not like you just had it and it was done. You were building on it through engineering school, building on it through law school, did it through all your work at the University of Cincinnati, being ahead of an R1 institution at the youngest. I guess, at what age were you leading at University of Cincinnati?
What age was that? I think it was 35 or 36. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that does not happen. Talk me through that transition to, like, what were you doing right before you were able to lead at University of Cincinnati as an R1? Or, like, how does that even happen? Like, I'm just wondering, like, what are some of the conversations? Was that even on your radar? Like, all those things.
So you get to be on a governing board. Normally the process is you're appointed by a governor. So I got appointed by a governor. So there was, we happen to be very tied into politics within our state. And for the first time in like 30 years, a Democrat had won the state of Ohio gubernatorial race. And I got a chance to be appointed for that reason. I had that opportunity, and there was a fight and struggle there. Actually, I'll take you through that, because I think that's interesting for people to know about.
Yeah, for sure.
So the person there was another person that wanted that seat. All right. And the name of this lawyer, I'll tell you who he was. I don't care. The lawyer's name is Stan Chesley. And he was a rich, very rich. When I say rich, like he was best friends or best political friends with Bill and Hillary Clinton, one of their largest donors. And, one of the largest kind of Democratic donors at the time in the country, and extremely arrogant, extremely successful, and was used to getting his way. And so when the governor made the appointment and decided to appoint me, he just kept putting pressure on him, right? And then he just finally put so much pressure on him. He said, "Well, if you could convince him to switch appointments with you, you go first and he goes second, then I'll make the switch." So then he calls me, and he comes to my office and he meets with me, and I'm just out of law school, like I think I'm 26, 25, something. Because it's a 9-year appointment, because I didn't become chair until my last year.
Oh, okay.
And he tries to convince me, and this is the first time I actually learned how power actually works, and people fall for this stuff anyway. He just sits down and tells me, like, "Listen, Rob, I can tell you, I can pave the way for you. I know this person, I know that person, and I can make sure that everything works out well for you." And I stopped and paused. I looked at him and said, "Well, how does that work? I already have the appointment." Like, I was really confused.
Yeah. It's like, what do you mean?
Yeah, it was supposed to be an intimidation tactic, but
Yeah.
And then he said, well, I might not be as tall as you, but I can be just as nasty. I said, I'm just asking questions. Right. It doesn't stop there though. He goes to lobby every single black politician there is to tell them that, they should convince me, tries to have them call the governor. He has Bill and Hillary Clinton call the governor. He then attacks my record, said I lied on my record, which I didn't. And then he ends up, I still got the appointment first. But here's karma. He comes on the board the next year, and then he's in the board for a few years. Then he gets brought up for a fraud case. Right.
Wow.
Right. And then and then what happens is a lot of the board wants to remove him, but the board of governors said there's nothing we can do. So, we were going to put out I was the secretary, and I was going to write up everything all the reasons why this is bad and make it a public record. They called and decided not to. He decided to finally resign, and people are asking me, well, why'd you do that to him? I was very involved with politics. I was a Democrat in the Democratic Party at that time because I also ran for office. And they said, well, you betrayed a Democrat. I said, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, the man committed fraud. What do you want me to say? Like, he was found guilty of this, and he lost his license. But I say all that to say it all came back. But what it really taught me is that people in these rooms, power just moves differently. When a lot of us, and I'm talking about black people who may not have as many opportunities to be in rooms like this, we get intimidated, we get influenced because we don't think we belong in the room. These people are not any smarter than you. A lot of them are dumber than you. That's it. But they understand the game, and they understand how to move in these rooms. And so I want you to know that, like, just because you're not in those rooms doesn't mean that you don't have the ability. These folks got there by connecting themselves. Another piece of advice I want to give folks, because your credentials are cool, but your connections will move faster than any credential you could ever have. One of the most important things you could do in the age of AI, one of the things I think some Gen Zers struggle with, is the ability to connect in person, the ability to connect with people, not just a text, the ability to actually have real life conversations, understand how to see where people are coming from. That is extremely important because your connections move faster than your capabilities, and they always have, and they move like that at lightning speed right now.
Actions move faster than your capabilities and your credentials. More mic drop moments. And that is so true with Gen Z. And I don't know if it's because of the pandemic or just being digital native. I think there's a lot of research about why it is.
That's why it's a double-edged sword, Paul.
Yeah.
That's why I said it's a double-edged sword. We got to get over that. The other part is a struggle that can be overcome. You got to develop the muscle. See, the muscle, your initial reaction is to do everything digitally because that's how everybody dates. That's how they do things. But like, that's not how the whole world works. And still, connection is still better in person.
Yeah, connection is still better in person. Wow, that's good. I had something and then I lost it, but we can probably come back to it. But when that's what I had. Connection is better in person, and that made me think of MidwestCon and what you're doing with the conference. I want to make sure you talk more about that because I think around when this episode is coming out will be maybe a month or two before the conference. So maybe talk about what people can expect and maybe get people there as well.
Yeah. So as I talked about earlier, what you have to do is really move fast. So AI is a fast-moving train that is moving its slowest right now, period. Our goal is to get you on the train and to make sure that you have a chance to meet people that can help you on your journey and give you the real practical skill sets. So we have a whole day dedicated to just straight, actually application learning, not someone telling you, these are all the greatest things about AI and the 3 things you need to know. We'll have that too. We're going to have parties. We'll have all that stuff. The most important thing we want you to walk away with is actionable skills to be able to do something for you as a business and entrepreneur, as the ability to anything that you want to do and learn, AI can amplify that if you're willing to take some time to understand how to integrate it. And we want to make sure you understand that. We have a whole section for creators. That section we call artistic intelligence, and how we define that is the ability to use AI with your judgment and to dance with the algorithms rather than defaulting to them. So you put your own expertise and how creators can not necessarily lose their creativity, but amplify what they do. We focus a lot on policy. So we have policymakers and others come in and talk, and we really try to work with them on how we can create good policy around AI, one that's that helps and empowers people. And so, like, if you care about social impact, if you care about how to learn AI, and you want to get a chance to have a conference that's actually accessible, we're one of those conferences. I'm not knocking any other conferences. There are some huge conferences. What differentiates us is that you will have the ability to meet real players, people that are CEOs, CTO levels that'll actually talk to you. Whereas a lot of conferences, you won't get a chance to be able to even meet or see those people because they're out of reach, because it's 10,000 people and you won't be able to see them on stage. And meeting a celebrity is not going to likely do anything to change your life. But meeting somebody that's a business owner, or meeting somebody that can hire you or get you a business deal, will likely more change your life than meeting a celebrity that has 1 million followers. And if you want that opportunity, that's what MidwestCon is. We're not a celebrity conference, but we are an effective conference for those who are looking to upskill themselves, that are looking for a job in AI and tech, or those just looking to learn it. We're that conference.
That's really good. That's what to expect. You let them know when the conference is.
Yes. So the conference is going to be September 9th or the 11th. We're going to have a pre-day conference too on the 8th. So right after Labor Day, you should definitely show up. And we'll make sure, Paul, to give you and some of your listeners, I'll give you a code that you could give your listeners to get a discount for those who listen and sign up right after. We'll definitely give them a good discount to come through.
Awesome. No, I really appreciate that. I'm sure the listeners do as well.
Yes.
That would be good to get more people out there to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So I feel like we could definitely go on and on, but I feel like we're probably at a good stopping point. But I want to make sure if there's anything that you haven't shared either about yourself around AI tips for Gen Z, that you can share that as we wrap things up.
Yeah, so you can go to obviously midwestcon.live to learn about the conference. Our website for the business is disruptionnow.com. We also have a podcast, Disruption Now. So if you want to learn about the latest in AI and impact, that's a good one. You can follow me, Rob Richardson, on all social media. And I just want to tell people that they have to just keep moving. You can't allow yourself to be distracted. It's easy in this current environment to be overwhelmed, to not know where to start. You just have to start. And if there's a place you go, literally, I would go to, if you're struggling to understand where to get started with AI, there's so many places to go, but I would say Claude Code just came out with a new course. It's all free. There's like 9 courses. Go look up Claude Code Skill Jar and just take the classes. And then I would say just start building something. Start learning how to do one thing. You can do it. I promise. There are people that are less smart than you that are doing this. And if you don't start, you'll get behind. I'll leave with this. Your greatest superpower is getting clarity plus expertise, right? If high clarity times high expertise equals 30x return. But if you're zero on either side, you're zero. If you have zero clarity, zero expertise, you're going to be zero. But there are a lot of people that have high expertise and low clarity, and they use AI and they get AI slop. There are some people that have high clarity and low expertise, and it's a basic commodity. You need both. So you're going to have to also know and just learn. You should spend as much time as you can, at least a little bit every single day, learning specifically new things about AI, how it can help you do whatever you do. Whatever it is you do, this is the first time in software history that you can build something without having to spend a bunch of money or being an expert. If you want to, Paul, you got a certain small circle of people that you want to build for. In the past, it would cost you $30,000 to get started. It will cost you, 15 hours in a weekend to learn how to do vibe coding, and you can build something that's unique for your community. It might not be the next $1 billion idea. It doesn't have to be, but it could be the next $1 million idea for you. $1 million is a lot of money. Something that can help you generate, $50,000, $100,000 a month, like for a unique niche. That business can exist, and you can build that without having zero technical knowledge. Zero technical knowledge. You do need an ability to have clarity of thought, and you do need to have some connections in terms of some people you have to have connections to people. If you have clarity for what you want to do and you have a distribution, that means you can connect to people. You can build a product that can make you some money. Any of you can, with zero technical knowledge. And this is your time. So keep disrupting.
Keep disrupting. I like how you emphasize it's zero at the absolute base level, and just really it comes out to being intentional, because what is the whole theme of this podcast. Everyone I have on, everything I talk about is there's a lot of ideas we have in our heads, a lot of things we want to do, but if you don't actually act on it, if you're not intentional about it, nothing's going to happen. Like what you talk about, learning to learn, being intentional with learning AI, implementing it in your day-to-day. And that's what is going to distinguish you from everyone else who's just putting stuff in, getting AI slop out, and they seem like they have everything together because they're pumping all this stuff out, but they're not actually engaging with it. They're not learning it. And it's garbage in, garbage out.
That's how it always works. AI does not replace any rules. It just amplifies them. So there's nothing that changes in terms of you get what you get out of life what you put in, but there are unique moments in time that you have to move through the window. And I've seen enough of these moments because they've all happened in my lifetime. Like it's just a unique, I think, where I'm like a zennial, I guess. It's a unique moment where I've seen it. I've seen the .com era, right? I understand what was happening then. And then there was the social media era, and I didn't get involved early now. I'm like, this is another time. I don't know how many of these we're going to go through, but this is definitely one, right? Yeah. And so these are when, there's no guarantee you're going to be like a multimillionaire, but I guarantee you if you get involved now, you're going to be better positioned for the next 20 years than if you don't. So get involved and learn now. Start anywhere, but just start.
Just start. Yeah, I can't say any better than that. For everyone listening, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to Rob's story. I know you got something from it, just from the very beginning with the disruption. Even if you didn't have maybe the best family system, I think the key thing to remember is the grit and resilience is something that's built consistently. So wherever starting point you are, you're always going to have to build on it, and that takes intention. But keep being intentional about your resilience, be intentional about the connections, be intentional about your expertise, and you too can be incredible.
Be sure to rate and review this podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform. We'll see you here next time. And be incredible.